Good evening. Once again, this is Minister Gaines. I'll just talk to you again about my book, Three W's. It's all about, again, that we just never know when and where and how we'll be used or how we can help someone else. I will continue to talk to you about this process to where I'm trying to get conversation started of what, where, and when, and who that we may have to one day help along the way. I want to read again another section of the book, and it's going to say it's on the road. But hear me and hear me clear. And I didn't think of this at the time when I wrote this, but after reading it myself and noticing some of the things that happened along the way during the time, I found out that it's what God has asked us to do. So here we go. On the road, I heard the bus driver announce we was in Houston. I thought about getting off the bus there because my uncle there, he told me I could live with him. But the bus driver knew that I was only 15 and that this was my first time traveling. He got my luggage and led me to my next bus. There must have been 20 or so buses. The driver of the next bus loaded my suitcase and told me to get on. We drove off. I had no time to call my uncle or even put much thought into it. I fell asleep. The next thing I knew that the driver said that we was in San Antonio. The trip to California would take 3 days. So I had plenty of time to wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I going where I'm supposed to be? Or what will California even be like? We got to Phoenix, where I stayed for about 3 or 4 hours. Again, I bought a hamburger, fries, and sodas and sat in the waiting room. I started to get a little scared when I saw people begging for money and cigarettes. That they weren't very clean, but then again, I wasn't either. I hadn't taken a bath in 2 days. I had never seen so many different people and couldn't understand what some of them were saying. When they spoke to me, a woman with 3 kids sat by me. I thought that they was Indian. She spoke to them in a language I didn't understand, but she spoke to me in English. She wanted to know my name and where was I from. And I told her Louisiana. And where I was going, she said her children was eating, I saw her children eating potato chips. After about an hour or so, 2 of the kids started to cry, and she tried to get them to be quiet, but they wouldn't stop crying. I asked her to wash my suitcase, and I went to the washroom and bought a candy bar. One of her children stood in front of me with his hand out. He was crying and saying something that I couldn't understand, but I knew he was asking for some of my candy. So I asked the woman if I could share my candy with her children, and she said yes. She told me she had spent the last of her money on potato chips. She was going to Bakersfield, California to live with her mother. She had just broken up with her husband. I gave the candy to one of her kids, and another one snatched it out of his hand. She took it from him and split up the candy bar and gave a piece to each one of them. That kept them quiet for about 15 minutes. One of them came and stood in front of me again, saying something I didn't understand, but I knew that he was hungry. It was about an hour and a half before my next bus was leaving. So I asked her to wash my suitcase again, and I went to the cafe and ordered burgers and fries and soda for the woman and her 3 kids, which cost about $7. I asked the woman to come over and tell the waiter what what they wanted on their burgers. Man, they ate their meal as they hadn't eaten anything in a long time. In about 20 minutes or so, they was all snoozing on the bench. One of her kids rested his head on my arm and went to sleep. When we got on the bus, the little kid wanted to sit next to me, but she was sitting across from me with one kid on her lap. He seemed to be about 2 or 3 years old. The others, who was about 6, was sitting next to her. The kid next to me fell asleep, and I did also. When I woke up, I asked her, where were we? And she said, somewhere in California. We stopped around 8 at night. The driver told me we would get to Vallejo, which is where I was going, in about 9 hours the next night. We stayed there for about an hour, hour and a half, and I gave her $20 so she and the kids could eat. She went to the cafe and came back with a couple of bags of chicken, fries, and bread. They offered me some, but I had ordered a hamburger and fries and was waiting for my number to be called. So she tried to give me the change from the 20, but I told her to keep it. Again, I saw people of many different races speaking language I didn't understand. They didn't look like white people. I guess they was Indians or Oriental who I've only read about or seen on TV. I thought maybe that they was mulattoes because it sounded like they were speaking Creole. I say all that to say this is that we just never knows what or when we are going to be someone else's angel. But thank God that I was fortunate enough that I was able to help someone that in need. And as God always speaks to us and tell us to share. So with that being said, I want to read a little passage um, from the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 35 and 36. I'm going to read it from the Message Bible. I love reading the Message because Message Bible just saying to just break some things down very clear and more of a natural speaking um, tone, I guess that you may say. And it reads like this. Luke 6 and 35 says, I tell you, love your enemy, help and give without expecting a return. You'll never, I promise, regret it. I promise that you regret it. Live out this God created identity, the way our Father that lived towards us, generous and gracious, even when we at our worst. Our Father is kind, so you should be kind also. Again, I say is that we always should be able to live, to loan a helping hand to someone that's in need. I pray that what I done for her and knowing that one day that maybe I may be in need or someone that I love or someone close to me and that someone would lend a helping hand to them. We just never know how fortunate we can be and what rewards that God may give back to us just for loaning a helping hand. I want you to also consider that, again, you would hear me say this over and over, that I'm not writing this story for myself. I'm writing this story from some of the things that I have been through. So hopefully that maybe if you come across these situations that comes into your life that you won't struggle with or even have a second thought to loan someone a helping hand, either to just say a kind word, but just to be there to let someone lay their head on your shoulder or on your arm to get rest. We are all here on this earth for a reason and a purpose. And we all should be able to do what Christ has done for us. And some of us he have strengthened more than others. Because the Bible also tells us that the poor is going to be among us always. But it doesn't say that we should ignore them. We should be able to try to, if we are fortunate enough, to be able to loan a hand that can help them. I want you to also continue to ask yourself these W's that I cannot still figure out no other way that you can know or learn about someone else unless you start a conversation. And how else can you start a conversation by asking the who, what, when, and why, and where? So in this situation here, this case here, what happened to her that had her leaving her husband? Why was they in the situation that they were in? Why would the kids have to go through something that they have no control of? We never know when these things may come to our doorstep or with us. But we hope that someone would be there also to loan a helping hand to you. I'm not going to be very long, but I do want to prepare yourself for hopefully next week. I was supposed to do it this week, but hopefully next week. That I'm going to be interviewing a lady and also a couple individuals that had read my book. I'll be having a conversation with them over the next 3 weeks. And also, hopefully, by the end of the year, as I want you to tune in and continue to look out and look forward, that the new book should be on the market that speaks about Ernest becoming a man at a very young age. I want you to please, if you can, get a copy of 3Ws, of Tears of Pain and Joy, so you can have some type of idea of what I am talking about and what I have been through. But all those things I've been through, I want you to know that those are things in my past. And I want to share my past with you. I have to share my past with you in order to get you to move forward and realize that if you are going through anything or went through anything that I may have went through, that you wasn't alone. So you let me be this mouthpiece for you to let you know that you're worthy and that you can do anything that you choose to do. But always keep in mind, if there's something you're struggling with or something that you feel you cannot do on your own, our Heavenly Father is always there waiting to help. Because He knows your situation, He knows your problems, even before you ask, because He knew you when you were still in your mother's womb. So until then, I want you to consider purchasing this book, read it, and hopefully, maybe somehow we'll be able to have a dialogue. If even not even that, that hopefully that maybe you would be able to read this book, and if you see something in there that may pertain to you, ask yourself those W's. Why, when, who, and what that I am doing, or what have I done, or what shall I do to move forward or to get out of it. Until then, until we speak again, this is Minister Gaines. I want you to know that keep your head up high, keep walking forward, and refuse to look back at things that has no need in your life or nowhere helping you move forward. Let's make today your tomorrow, because the days after that is not promised. But we do know for sure that if we just start today, that we can do what we plan on doing, and with the help of God, we know that all things are possible. So place your hands in His hand and let Him lead and guide you. And I guarantee that you would be grateful and gracious because of the things that He can do and the favor that He will give you. The favor of God cannot be matched. Please take care of yourself. Be blessed. Be safe. And remember, God loves you, and so do I. Till then, peace.